picking wild berries off God's land. I'm drinking my buddy's homemade wine. Living Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud I own the things that I've got. I'm digging in moss bags up in the sand. And after work a cold beer in my hand. Picking wild berries off God's land. And drinking my buddy's homemade wine. In the Northwest wild.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish on Northwest, or actually tonight it's the debate. Dwayne England, Tommy Donlin.
We're not going to repeat that.
Not. We've got enough of that going on.
Yeah, we do.
As of late. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How are you?
It's good, man. It's been a busy week. Got some fishing going on. Got some additional areas opening up that we're going to talk about. Had a couple great days out on the water. How about the weather?
No, it's phenomenal.
I mean, seriously. It's October 1. And we're brushing, just shy of 80 degrees today. Solid 75, 76. And here we are, start of October. Hunting's just around the corner for many of us.
We could use just a little bit more rain
to
make that forest floor just a little quieter.
Yeah.
So that we can stealthily sneak through.
Yeah. No, and for a handful of other reasons as well. River conditions.
Right.
We had that good bump of rain. A week and a half ago, right about 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And those rivers flat out drained out, man. They are low and clear and on the drop. Cooler temperatures at night. We're going to get into that a little bit later. I'm actually going to walk through the progression of, putting together your plan. It's like you're getting ready to go hunting. We're going to talk about kind of putting together your plan. And there's a lot of us really who look forward to this fall opportunity. And it's just not by chance you go and catch fish. You kind of got to put some thought into it. The weather conditions weigh in heavy on your opportunity and availability to go catch salmon this time of year. And you got to take full advantage, especially with technology today and what's at your fingertips. So I'm going to show you just 3 basic, simple weather and projection apps or sites that you can use that are going to improve your game tenfold. So,
you think you could explain it in a way that a guy like me that doesn't fish rivers, you think I could catch a fish with your information?
Well, you're a freaking engineer, so I would hope you could understand a little bit of weather systems, but lots of things to cover tonight. We're going to have our buddy Kyle Buschelman from down there in Oregon jump on, Willamette Valley Outfitters. He's fishing the Siuslaw, and there's some big Chinook down there happening too, Tommy, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I see that.
Yep, we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about, I happened to grab a fresh coho today, so I basically substituted and flipped the show around a little bit. People have been asking for egg cure recipes, got some fresh coho eggs. We're going to take time in the bait lab tonight, brought to you by Max. We're going to be in there actually curing some fresh coho eggs, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Got a lot of stuff going on tonight that we're going to get through. So first I want to remind everybody, Fish on Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons Real Estate, located in Puyallup, Washington, and of course, our good pals out there at Defiance Marine, manufacturers of the Arima, the Defiance, and of course, the Allied Series.
You got to be excited.
The Mustang is soon to start laying down some weld beads, my friend.
Awesome.
I can't wait. So we're going to be watching the progression of that boat. And make sure you guys, if you have concerns with your boat, you need maintenance, you need parts, you need repairs, you want to go see what the value of your boat is on a trade-in, get in line. Right? Get in line, because they got a lot
there's
going
a backlog
on
going on.
And boats are still selling very, very well this time of year. So with that, we got a whole lot going on around the Pacific Northwest and beyond. And holy smokes, Tommy, Chinook limit upped to 2 per day.
There we go.
On the Columbia.
Beautiful.
They just keep marching in, man.
Yeah, compare this to previous years. I mean, does this happen? Does it happen late? It just doesn't happen at all? When's the last time it happened?
Somebody that fishes the Columbia more than I probably can chime in here on the old text line, but no, it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened for a long time. Even to the fact that, think about buoy 10, the actual recognized buoy 10 season, our 2-week window there in August. You had a 1 fish limit.
Yeah.
That one day I was happy with about a 12-pound coho.
Right.
Because it was a fat football.
Well, you hit the beginning of it, though, when you had those huge tide swings.
Yeah. So, but, 1 fish limit, and that's sustained for quite some time. And then eventually, hey man, more fish are coming. Let's open the lower river again for a weekend window. And guys put a dent in it, and fish are moving up. And now you get mid-Columbia action going on. And oh hey, the fish keep coming. Let's open the lower river again. So we had these periodic reopenings. And then finally now it's full on. From Buoy 10, from the mouth all the way to the Highway 395 bridge there in Tri-Cities. Don't know last time you checked the mileage on that, but that is quite the distance. Dam counts are beginning to taper off just a little bit, but the fish keep coming to the point where this time in the season, you know, that last week we talked to Shane Magnuson up there on the Reach. You can now keep 2 Chinook there, right? So you have opportunity that we haven't seen quite some time, and your 2 fish limit carries over. You can, it can either be 1 and 1, Chinook and Coho, 2 Coho, or 2 Chinook. So pretty lucrative. The fish keep coming. Kind of tells you the last couple of years, ocean conditions have been pretty favorable. Yeah. And the size of fish. Yeah. We got into some fish today, local areas. And talked to somebody who's also fishing some of these local intercoastal rivers here. The Chinook, albeit on some of our rivers, are catch and release. Nice size fish. Coho, nice size fish. Well fed. Okay.
Everything is doing well this year. We talked about razor clams last week. Yeah. The razor clam population, we got another 39 digs left, or was it 32 maybe? And then, the squidding. The squidding is already kicking off. Usually we got to wait a little bit further into October to see the squid fishery really kick off, but guys are getting them up at Edmonds, getting their limits. Yeah. So it's been pretty phenomenal so far.
You mentioned the razor clams, and I was talking to my buddy Larry Phillips, director here at Region 6 office for WDFW earlier in the week, kind of putting together some information that hopefully we're going to get to next week, which is pretty good stuff that I want to review for folks. We were talking about razor clams, and the fact we do have more digs coming. I think it's October 13th or 15th, 17th, somewhere in there. Anyhow, I was still kind of hung up on the 5.3 million. Yeah. Harvestable numbers are brushing actually in that 9 to 10 million range. They have.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now that's not how many clams are available. Like every other type of opportunity, fishery, wild game, whatever that's managed, you have your set base and you have your harvestable numbers. So that would indicate there's well over 20 million. Wow. Okay. Which I believe is pretty unprecedented. Of course, we missed out on a ton of springtime digs due to COVID. Yeah. And that just allowed for the population to continue and be untouched. So clam digging has been freaking unbelievable right up until the last date there on the 22nd of September. Now going back into it very soon here, mid-October, it still should be good. Of course, it's all night digs through the rest of the year, but the numbers are impressive. And hopefully it continues into next year. We get those spring tides coming back around, those morning and daytime digs. So again, more opportunity to look forward to. Speaking of which, crabbing. Did you get your crab card in?
Did you get your crab catcher card in? No. No, I'm going to be donating some money to WFW.
Yeah, I'm going to be donating $10 too, because the last time I got online checking my licenses and trying to figure out some things relative to hunting licenses and fish and all that, I wanted to submit my summer crab card. Oh, you can't do it yet. Well, and I'm like, okay, I got to remember to get back on. Guilty. Yeah. Totally forgot about it. Didn't get it in. So now I'll be paying the fine. You do any winter crabbing? You're probably too busy.
I hope to, but it's probably not going to be until December.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, when the weather's real nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, nice and warm outside.
For some folks, you look forward to that wintertime blackmouth opportunity in areas, and or you get the crab pots out there, right? So some of that's taken away. You don't have those dates available, but opportunity is where it's at. And speaking of opportunity, today is October 1st, which basically indicates all this additional coastal area is open. Grace Harbor, rivers, tributaries, main stem, Chehalis, Harbor, it's all open. Yes, our retention is 1 coho, right? Hatchery or wild. No Chinook retention once again. I want to remind everybody, though, moving forward, this is a pivotal year as it relates to the Chehalis and the Chehalis Basin, okay? I'll just go ahead and say that. Back years ago when I was involved with the groups and the meetings, we had kind of stamped out a conservation plan. and it was adopted by WDFW back in the day. It's one that they've been following. It's a model that they've been following and been adhering to relative to Chinook in the Chehalis Basin. We have to meet escapement 3 of 5 years to then the following year have a consideration. If your preseason forecast exceeds need, you can have a harvestable season. We've been bouncing around and missing it by a year, then we get set back and we got to start over again. And it's been kind of up and down like this for a number of years. Finally, the numbers preseason indicated we would meet escapement. Most of these runs are overperforming preseason models. You would anticipate going into the end of this year that, hey, for crying out loud, we actually hit escapement needs on the Chehalis Basin. And if we roll on to next year and have abundance that exceeds need, we can look at finally, perhaps, getting back to a harvestable Chinook opportunity, hatchery, for Chehalis and something like the Sata.
Now, is that 3 years in any 5-year period?
3 of 5.
3 of 5, but the 5 can start at any point in time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once you, the way that works out, it ebbs and flows, and once you kind of hit that reset, it's like, oh, we're not going to make it now, you got to start over. And that's kind of what we've been subjected to. A number of years go by when you're looking at this going, for crying out loud, we're never going to
get there.
Right? But lo and behold, this is a year that's outperforming in many areas. Some struggle. I mean, we could go into detail on Puget Sound and we're not going to be happy. But some areas are overperforming tremendously. We just talked about the Columbia River. Bottom line is, moving forward, sure would like to see us reach that escapement goal this year and then hopefully look favorable next year. What that does is it brings us back fisheries that persons have been waiting for a long time. And it spreads out the pressure.
The pressure, yep.
It spreads out the pressure. The amount of boats, this last week after the rain came and the water's dropping, for example, on that upper hump run off of the 101, the hatchery run there, just unbelievable, 50, 60 boats a day. You know, it's every hole you come down to, there's a boat parked there. It kind of takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, that's why I don't river fish.
That's why you don't river fish. It kind of takes the fun out of it. You know, out there on the ocean, it's not like, oh, that guy's in my hole.
Right.
So there's coordinates. Yeah, we get that. There's pinnacles. Yeah. There's ledges and things, and there's flats, and there's things that you have on your electronics that you go for.
For sure.
It's still a wide open area, though.
It is.
Yeah, you can have a number of boats in there, and you're not going to really ruin anybody's day.
Right.
River fishing, a little different dynamic. But I got to tell you, the start of this October season, Josh was on one river, the Beard and I were on another. We got into both Chinook and Coho. The Coho came on primarily twitch jigs. Some Coho lost on bobber and eggs. You know, I'll never give up on fishing my eggs under a bobber because I know, especially on a couple of these rivers, the Coho get very aggressive on eggs. So don't discount that. But in a lot of these systems, spinners, hoochie spinners, twitching jigs, these jingling jigs, I got to tell you, these jingling jigs that Jordan ties, this chartreuse head and purple pattern here, it's been a go-to for me for the last few years, or in a black pattern. Also, you know what? Tommy, we don't really, we don't identify with a particular rod brand right now, right? So,
right, this is true.
But Jordan and I started fishing this X Series Okuma twitching rod. It's a one-piece 7-foot. Let me tell you, best rod, ergonomically speaking, the way this thing fits in the palm of your hand for twitching and working this thing. I balanced it out with a Penn Battle 2500 series. Don't want to put too big a reel on there so it's too heavy because you're constantly working your arm when you're twitching the jigs. But this thing, with that thumb hold and just the way it fits in the palm, the balance on it, how it fits under your arm here, twitch that thing all morning long, and I tell you.
Looks a little small for the palm of my hand. You think I'd be fine with it? It looks a little tiny.
Fine. Yeah.
I don't want to break it.
Okay. Yeah, it's only a 7-foot stick. You may struggle with this, but I would like to get you on the end of a twitching rod and see how you do.
Oh boy.
So you got to have rhythm. You got to have skill. I've seen you dance.
Rhythm.
Neither.
Hustle and flow. Okay.
Yeah. So the twitching thing is working even in the low gin clear water. The coho bite is happening. I think Josh pulled his coho on eggs. Jordan and I lost a few on eggs. got into some Chinook, was able to let those go unharmed. Got some great bobber down video today we're going to be sharing over the next couple weeks. Really happy with how some of that stuff's turned out. Trying to create content out on the water to bring to people, right, Tommy?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what we're really trying to do this fall season. And you soon, my friend, will be taking off going hunting, gathering a lot of really good stuff out there in the woods as you find your way to your elk, your deer, and a bear, and whatever else you're going to throw in the freezer here in the near future.
Yeah, amen.
So we got a lot of things going on, and again, we're trying to provide content and teach you guys and gals some techniques and things that have been proven that work. Thereby, grabbing that coho today, we're going to cure those eggs tonight.
Yeah.
We're also going to talk about weather patterns, river levels, how to check those, how to pre-plan. We're also going to talk about dialing in your big game arsenal, or what I like to refer to as tactical talk with Tommy.
Tactical
right?
talk, yeah.
Because we bounced out a tuna here a little bit ago, though there are guys still getting tuna today.
Oh yeah, tuna's still going really strong.
It
yeah.
may just, with these weather patterns, we may see it stronghold all the way up until.
I think they're going to have good fishing until the weather turns and they can't make it out.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah. Boy, you can only get so much done in a week's time.
I know.
And try to fit this all in. Tuna opportunity right now with everything else starting to bust wide open locally. It's a coin flip. It's going to land on heads most of the time, and I'm going to stay around here. So anyway, okay, lots going on. Stick with us through the break. We're going to jump out real quick. We come back. Our buddy Kyle Buschelman is going to be checking in from down there in Oregon, the Siuslaw River, Florence, Oregon. The Chinook fishery down there is doing very well. He's also going to be moving to other rivers like the Siletz and others that he loves to fish this time of year for good reason. You want to talk big Chinook? Some of these rivers, these coastal Oregon rivers. Something you and I need to go do. We've talked about that.
I've done it.
You've been down there?
I've done it, yeah.
Okay. Out in the salt?
Yeah, no, in the river system.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
You remember which one?
God, this was back, I think it was the Siletz. It was back in 2013, and yeah, there's some big fish down there.
Boy.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, jump out for a quick break. Stick with us. Not going to be gone too long. We come back. We'll have our buddy Kyle Bushelman right here, Fish on Northwest.
Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers, or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
All right, welcome back, Fish on Northwest. Just a little technical difficulty here, trying to make sure I got Kyle hooked up on the old Bluetooth. You there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello.
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
What's going on? Can you really? I can't hear him.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. He hears me? You say something?
I hear you. Yep, I hear you.
I am not.
I got nothing.
I got nothing.
Okay, let's try it again. Call me back.
Right back. All right, stand by, everybody. We're going to call again and make sure this goes through. Gotta love technology. So let's do this. Huh.
There we go.
Yep. Now it's going to connect.
Hey,
there you
got
are.
me now?
Yeah, I got you now.
We hear you now.
Control Alt Delete works wonderful, baby.
I called IT.
Reset.
He said, "Turn it off, turn it back on." That's exactly what I did. So, all right, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing good. We had a good day today. We caught a lot of fish. We got our Keeper Kings for my clients because you're allowed one a year, and then we let go like 15 coho.
Wow. So the Siuslaw is one of those coastal rivers where the limit per angler is one Chinook per year, correct?
Yes, it is. Yep.
How many of those river systems down there are like that? I remember last year we talked to Brandon Glass about that for a fall fishery, and he mentioned a handful of rivers. Do you know offhand how many of your systems down there follow that?
No, but most of the rivers are 5 per year, but we have this thing in the mid-coast, which is an aggregate of 5 Chinook a year. So if I get 1 on the Siuslaw, that means I can only get 4 more on the Florence.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could get a couple on the LC, but no more than 5 on the Oregon coast. Pretty much no more than 5 Falls River Chinook. The Coquille is closed.
Oh.
The Coos is open, and they're just. It's just a bummer. I mean, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to bash ODFW on the deal, but it's really bad. I mean, the coho run is exceptional right now, and we can't. I mean, we killed 3 of them today, unhooking them with treble hook because we have to. We're using 360s and spinners. I mean, trying our best to be safe with these fish, and there's no reason why they don't give us 1 a year. We haven't killed a fish on the coho since 2013, and they just said we're done, and there's no data to support it because these guys are non-fishermen anymore. They don't fish. They have no clue.
That's so. There's that many.
If you follow it online, you've seen Facebook, and you've seen Scott Ammerman's post of why you should be upset with the ODFW, and I've shared it. That is what's going on right now. They refuse to let us help them with the data. They say that we'll alter their plan, and they don't want our help. And I don't know what it is because our fisheries are really strong. I mean, we have good fishing, but
what's going on with these coho? Is it? Are they? This a hatchery program, a broodstock program, all a wild?
No, it's all wild. We don't have hatchery programs on the mid coast here, so they're all wild. So if we do get a hatchery, we can kill it. But really, there's a few that go up to Umpqua and the rest go up the Columbia. So if we get them, they're strays.
What kind of data are they using?
Yeah, good.
I don't know. I mean, these kids at ODFW, the biologists don't even know that there's a male and a female.
I want to back up. You just said something. So in those river systems, they don't have hatchery fish, but if you catch a hatchery fish, you are allowed to kill it.
Correct. Yes.
So it's a great segue. I'm not going to get too far off track here because we got a lot to cover within your fishery that you're currently conducting. But that brings up a conversation I was having with a couple guys today because we were in a river system where there is no hatchery Chinook program. Albeit we get strays up into this river as far as 3 and 4 miles. Mm-hmm. And I have yet to have a biologist tell me beyond a shadow of a doubt, they know those fish are going to turn back around and head back downriver, right? Those fish are committed up past tidal water. I don't think they're going back to the main stem to find their way home to their natal stream. So those hatchery fish that have been led astray into these other streams are not allowed to be retained. Now, I don't know if WDFW feels if we pull the trigger on that, then we feel like more people are going to be pursuing those fish because the encounter with the hatchery fish on a few of these rivers is few and far in between simply because it's not a produced fish in that system. Mm. So if you encounter that unicorn, I would think good stewards of the resource in trying to help us to keep the ESA folks happy and keep those hatchery fish off the gravel if the genetic strains are so indifferent that we should be able to retain that fish out of that system. That's why we have a catch card. You mark the river you got it out of, you mark it as a hatchery fish. An enforcement officer would check you. They'd see that you have an adipose clipped fish in a river that doesn't produce those fish. I think it's a step in the right direction, but it's another conversation we have to continue to have at WDFW. Maybe one day we'll get there, Kyle. I like the fact you guys get to keep those. So there's my rant. I'm done.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to rant about. I mean, I'm going to say one of them, and you just need to let me hear it. We have a great guy down here. We've had a handful of guys down here in this mid-coast, Scott Ammerman, Mike Kelly, Ryan Hatfield, who have helped, and Grant Sheely, who have helped and fought really hard to keep this fishery where it was. There's no reason why it should be a 1 a year. A 1 wild Chinook per year on the Siuslaw, and it's one of the best runs I've seen since 13. We're at the fish cleaning station, and, the biologists come and check us out. A biologist said, that's what the skeins look like.
Oh, no.
I thought they were all broken up. No, that happened.
Oh, no.
And it's really bad. And they're doing the counts. And so, I would recommend anybody who's interested in how it's working here in Oregon is to go to Scott Ammerman's page and look at the 4. Well, it's actually up to 5, I think, reasons you should be upset with ODFW on how they've obtained data. I mean, so I'm not sure if you know this, but when I was in school, we learned the life of the salmon, and I do know that last year's salmon aren't this year's salmon.
Right.
I do know that.
Right, you do.
And so this year's season is based on last year's red counts. Now, if I was doing steelhead, maybe. Oh yeah, this is true. This is true. This is what they did. It's like the returns were bad last year, so this year we're going to just give you one a year. Now, us guys have been putting a lot of pressure on ODFW here about giving us one more fish, for Christ's sakes, because God forbid we get to kill one more keeper. I mean, like I said today, we just releasing. I mean, not even netting these wild coho and trying to release them safely in the water.
Yeah.
I mean, they're bleeding.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the seals get them.
Sure.
And so there's no rhyme or reason for it. And I can tell you that when every guide boat's coming in with half the boat full of Chinook and it's it's fishing's fishing. It's not guaranteed.
Sure.
That doesn't account for the ones you lost and everything else. But I mean, there's a lot of people who aren't guides who live on the river who would love to just kill a couple fish a year. That's why they moved to the river. That's why they live here, and we can't do it. But the fishing in Oregon is incredible. I mean, say what they will. I mean, we have rivers all the way up to the mid coast here that are really good. I mean, and a lot of big Chinook too. They're good size. They're healthy. That's a testament to our ocean conditions.
Absolutely.
That equates up here as well, and what we've seen, and some of the fish we got today, in some of these systems, very healthy Chinook, nice sized coho, and the big coho haven't even shown up yet. So I can't wait till we get into November, and who knows how big our chum are going to be this year. They probably chew your leg off if they get a chance. So let's talk a little bit about approach and technique in the Siuslaw. 360 flashers and a troll fishery. What's your rigging? What's been working for you?
Well, first off, I was very late in the 360 game because I hate them. Because I like an art. I like a craft. A tradesman, like a fireman. You're a tradesman.
Yeah.
I like to troll herring. There's a trade involved with it, but God dang it, I got my ass kicked at Buoy 10. I drank the 360 Kool-Aid. I started catching some fish. And I brought it back here, and everybody's been doing it, but I was a holdout, I mean, I'm going to use my herring. And herring still works, believe it or not. I saw a bunch of old-timers, and Valcos catching a bunch of fish today with herring. But all those guys are using 360 spinners and different baits. The spin fish is incredible. Yeah. The Brad's Cup plugs are really good, but the spin fish is great. But the spinners today were on fire.
Oh.
And, using different scents. I mean, it's not a secret, but it works. I think what gets to be tough is how people fish and how effectively they map the bottom and try to stay close to where the fish are and using their electronics. And then speeds. I mean, 8 ounces of lead versus 12 and 10.
Sure.
And temperature. And since we're at 62, 63, I'm still fishing 12 and 10s and doing quite well. But honestly, I think that's even overthinking it. The fish see it and they hit it. I mean,
so
it's really easy, and it's like I've saved a ton of money on herring.
So historically, this was a bait fishery inline, Big Alice fish flasher, an inline flasher, and a herring with a. You're on a dropper. You just run your lead straight off a slider.
Well, on the 360s, just right on the slider. But when herring, so this fishery is pretty dynamic. I mean, we have the jaws where if you're fishing right at the edge of the ocean, and that's a bait fishery. I mean, you're not going to fish 360s as a fisherman, so we're going to use heavy leads and we're going to mooch out there like we would anywhere else. Very effective. You get upriver, especially when the water temperature starts climbing. We're trolling 360s, and they're just effective. And right about now, a lot of us start transitioning to bobber. The flood bite's really good for, the bait bite. And it's kind of, I have some trips coming up next week for that guy that just want to bobber fish.
Gotcha.
So we'll be switching everything over to that. And those fish will be up a little bit higher, but still tidal water.
Who doesn't want a bobber fish?
It's fun. It's
no.
totally fun. I might even hook a fish.
You might even get an opportunity. So then you're moving to the Siuslaw, correct?
Yeah, and the reason for that is back to this one fish a year deal.
Yeah.
Most of my clients, as a business owner, I rely on my clients do 2 to 3 trips a year with me on the Siuslaw.
Mm-hmm.
We fish in September, October, and we try to get a couple trips out of each person. But we've had good fishing, and we're having to move so people can retain another fish. Because believe it or not, people like to eat salmon still.
Yeah, that's a weird deal.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
It is, and to say let's go catch a bunch of coho. Well, as a guide, that's kind of two-faced to me to say let's go beat up on fish we're going to kill.
Yeah.
When we want to save those fish so we can hopefully retain those. So we have to be guides. Have to be. I mean, if you look at us Columbia Buoy 10 guides, we're all from everywhere else but Astoria. Mm-hmm. So we all kind of move around anyway.
Yep.
But I'm just going to head. I live in Pacific City, so there's a bunch of rivers right there. But Siuslaw is my home river growing up, so I still stay down here until. But now I'm moving back up the coast, and that's just the way for me.
So when you go to the Alsea, is it the same approach? Are you still going to be fishing 360 flashers? And can you talk about the terminal details there? Like what kind of leader length are you using?
Well, I'm going to just tell you, I don't fish the Alsea. I stay away from that like the plague. It's a tough fishery. It's small, but it's a lot of fish. I don't fish it, but there's a few guys that do, and they do quite well. I go right to the Siuslaw. Siuslaw has been a river that I've fished my whole life, and then so as for the 360, I've been experimenting with the different leader lengths, and not to overthink it, but I've been sticking around the 31-inch line. The only thing I've been experimenting with is because of the spinners versus like a spin fish or a cut plug. It seems like the bigger the bait, a little bit longer leader, so that it doesn't take away from that flasher, because you can totally see that thump is like washed out a little bit. But if you have too big of a lure, even a 3.5 with a hoochie on a 31-inch leader versus a 3.5 on a 31-inch without, you'll see a change in that flasher.
Just because of the drag.
Just a little bit more. Yeah. It's amazing. Just like one piece of grass on your flasher, you can see it change.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about a 360 I do love, is that if you're fishing or not.
Yeah.
Where if you were trolling a herring, you could have a guy hit the bottom really quick, have a big old ball of nasty, and troll that thing for an hour. and
not notice the difference. Yeah. Well, with that 360, it's all about the cadence of that rod tip that you get. You get in tune with the way that thing is supposed to be thumping, and you can tell exactly like you said when there's something just a little off, that it doesn't have that cadence that you've become accustomed to. Absolutely. Yeah,
and that's been what it is, and I'm telling you, I hated it. I have a few people, I wish I could quote you, me cussing and pissing and moaning about it, because it was taking the art away from salmon fishing. Right. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's no pride guide service. I want to catch fish.
Yeah.
And it's effective. But there's still subtleties that allow some people to be a little more successful than others. Yeah. And that's looking at your fish finder, staying close to I still believe staying close to the bottom, adjusting your depths and figuring out what your speed is. If you're a true 45-degree angle, which I think most of us are a little bit past that with the 360s. I'm fishing 20 foot of water. You're not really 40 feet on the counter. You're like 45. Mm-hmm. I mean, so those are the things that you kind of fine tune to see to where you're at, and then fishing your leads accordingly. I mean, I think that's the hard part. And then, with me, I'm with Pautzke's, and we've been using the fire gel, and it's been amazing. It lasts long on the spinners. Put them right on the skirt there, right by the hook, and then.
Isn't that stuff good?
And then Doctor,
that stuff
is
great.
Very good, and it lasts a long time. Even bottom fishing, when we were fishing for lingcod, that stuff stays on the lure good. I'm amazed. The only problem is my clients are like, "Where do I get this?" I'm like, "If you have to ask, you can't get it." Kind of jokingly, you know what I mean? You're not that damn cool. You don't get it.
Well, we are pushing against time here, buddy. So real quick, best place to get a hold of you. Got some seats open. You're gonna be out there on the coast for a bit.
I do. I have random seats coming up because just the way we didn't know how the season was going to go with the Siuslaw. But 541-517-7536. Willamette Valley Outfitters at gmail.com, or Willamette Valley Outfitters.com on the website. You can get me that way. Find me through Pautzke's, or contact you. But we have dates and seats, and we do singles too. We'll just match a bunch of singles, and it's amazing. We got a lot of guys who met that way, and they fish together all the time.
It's a dating service.
So
it's fishingmatch.com.
Fishingmatch.com.
Fisherman only.
Let's go catch some salmon. Oh, yeah.
That is an untapped resource right there, Tommy. Fishingmatch.com.
I have a business proposition for you.
It's actually kind of funny. It's funny you say that. It's amazing how many people booked the single, then a guy, next thing you know, it's like 3 years later, they're still fishing. They're like, hey, we had fun. We caught fish. And, it's like, does your wife know about this?
Yeah. This would start some weird relationship. Yeah. How about that? Perfect. All right, buddy. Well, be safe out there. Keep in touch.
Yep.
I do plan to get down there at some point and bring the beard with me, and we'll get one of our annual trips in. That'd be a good time.
That sounds good, brother. Well, we'll talk soon. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, buddy.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
We're gonna have to turn Josh onto that Fisherman's Only.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think he could use that.
Yeah. Josh would be like, "Oh, you fish for bass? Yeah, I'm not interested."
Yeah. Swipe.
You swipe left or right on that?
No, I don't know. I don't have that app. I'm married.
Bass.
Yeah.
Chinook. Oh, look at that. He's got all his teeth. Okay. All right, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. Tommy, we're going to kind of break it down. We are at a point here in the fall where these salmon are coming into the rivers. And it's very weather dependent as we march our way through October, November, get into December, start getting that front edge of that steelhead push. But before we get there, we are going to have some water events. We're going to have some highs and lows. Mm-hmm. And it's all about planning your time. Now, some of us work 410, some of us work 5/8, some of us work, shift work, whatever. And you kind of look at your calendar and it's like, okay, I got to get this done. I want to fish these 2 days. Is that a good window of opportunity? What's the lunar schedule doing? What's the tides? And what's one I didn't put up here tonight, but we can talk about tides. So there's a lot of things you need to consider when you're trying to figure out some of these rivers and whether or not it's going to be beneficial for you to be out there or you're just wasting your time. So we're going to dial in on a few things to keep in mind, some rules of thumb to follow when you're trying to plan that outing for the weekend or even the day. And we'll do all that when we come right back here after this break, Fish Hunt Northwest.
An outdoor emporium, is the largest local outfitter in the Northwest since 1975, providing thousands of people affordable outdoor gear. This summer, make your next outdoor adventure more affordable by shopping at our warehouse-style pricing. We are a local Scotty dealer, offering sales, service, and repair. Located in Fife and Seattle, come visit us today. The outdoors await you.
It's easier than ever to browse homes and connect with an agent on the go with Better Homes & Gardens Real Estate's mobile app. With the app, your home search is synced across all of your devices, so you can pick up your home search anytime, anywhere. Take full advantage of an enriched, mobile-optimized map search experience. Use location services to quickly find homes near you that match your search criteria. Draw your own map boundaries to find homes in a specific area, and apply layers to view school districts, neighborhoods, zip codes, and more. The app's user-friendly design makes it easier than ever to find a home you'll love. Narrow down your search results, save your search criteria, and save your favorite homes. You can browse your saved homes in a list view that puts photos and key details like price and square footage right at your fingertips. Or check out your saved homes displayed on the map.
Welcome back, Fish Hunt Northwest, Wayne England, Tommy Donlin, in studio having a lot of fun at the break with Joshua.
Yes, indeed.
He's posting messages up here now, Tommy.
I know. He felt he needed to clarify.
Don't listen to these clowns.
Yeah.
I said, you can't call us that because our president apparently is a clown. Just
right,
as
according
Biden,
to
right?
Biden.
Yes.
Yeah.
All things going on. So, hey, Tommy, I know you don't spend a lot of time this time of year fishing the rivers, which we are working on changing that once you go kill your elk, your deer, and your bear. Might find you at the end of a 10.5-foot bobber and egg rod.
All right.
Huh?
I'm excited.
Something you haven't really done.
Talk to me.
Right? Well, so much like ocean fisheries, much like Puget Sound, much like a lot of our fisheries, there's a lot of things that weigh in on whether you may or may not be successful. Barometer has a huge effect on salmon, even when they're running up in the river, right? Barometer changes usually indicate weather changes, correct? So we can get into tides and all that kind of stuff, but the bottom line here is some simple rules to follow. This time of year especially. So we are right now into a weather pattern that's going to hold strong for the next 10 days or so till we get some more rain. How does that equate to river levels and fishing opportunity? It means that day by day the rivers will continue to drop. Okay? Low clear conditions can get to be kind of tough fishing. First of all, it's going to get to a point where the fish continue to stage out in the salt water. Now, the other side of that, though, as I mentioned, tides. Right now, we have in and around 9.5 to 10.5 foot tide changes. So some areas in your Puget Sound on those big tide swings are where you don't want to be when you're fishing, right? In other cases, like estuary waters, lower ends of rivers where you got tidal influence, that is where you want to be when you have big tides, especially when our weather patterns hold strong. We have these full sun days, no precipitation in the forecast, and it's going to continue to get those rivers to drop. So I look at right now as a great opportunity with some of our rivers just coming open. Those fish have been pushed in with the previous rain. Some of them are kind of hovering in the lower ends of rivers, and they will commit at night in those times of day when they feel safe enough to traverse through that shallow water. But for the most part, they're going to stay, maybe even say at the lower third of the river. One rule to always follow: when the river's low, fish low. When the river's up or high, fish high, right? Makes sense. A lot of fish came in on that last high water and made it all the way up, really high up in the system. And now they get to a point where they kind of mill around in certain deeper holes that are just well known, and persons can hike in and go find them, or you float down to them, and you got a pile of fish sitting in these holes. A percentage of those fish are going to bite. A lot of them are getting dark. Those are your first wave of fish that were entering into the salt. They now came in on that high water. They get up high in the system, and they kind of mill around there for a while till they're really ready to commit on up further and go do their thing. So as the water continues to drop, you start thinking, man, there just doesn't seem to be any fresh fish here. Well, no, there's probably not. They're down lower in the system. You look at your lunar schedules, you check your tide charts. Now, for me, one of the best ones that I like, because it's an easy app to use, is tidesforfishing.com. Tides spelt out the number 4, fishing.com. Maybe Josh will throw it up on here. I failed to pull it up here on our touchscreen tonight. That was one that slipped my mind. But tidesforfishing.com. It's going to take you to a national point of view, and you dial it down into Washington. And once you break it down to Washington, it goes Puget Sound, Coastal, Columbia River. It gives you all the different breakouts of all the different regions, right? And then you can scale that right on down. And those tides are important because you are fishing those lower ends of those rivers on that high and low, on those high or incoming tides, low tides, right? So one thing to think about, and you will learn over time based on paying attention to your tides, and when you have success on certain bodies of water, you start charting all that stuff. Next thing you know, I'm not even going to waste my time the first 3 hours this morning after daylight, because the incoming tide doesn't even start till 10 a.m. So if you're there and it's daylight at 7 a.m. and it's a herring troll fishery in a lower estuary river, or it's a spinner troll fishery, or it's a bobber and egg show, whatever it is, you already know, because of a couple years of success and failures, that I'm not even going to go put my boat in until maybe 9:30. Start fishing the very front edge of that incoming tide when those fish start moving upriver. Okay. So
I got a question for you. So if a guy is completely new, they want to get in the game. Say they don't have a drift boat, they're a bank fisherman. They're listening to this discussion. They go, okay, I'm going to fish low. I get it. Water's dropping. It's getting really clear. Fishing on an incoming tide. I'm working the lowest 3 or 4 miles of a given river. And I would imagine that depending on the length of the river, maybe that changes a little bit.
Sure.
But when they go to that river, what are they looking for? Like, how do they even know run timing for a given river? How do they know in that 4 mile stretch where are they gonna park their rig and where are they gonna walk in? I mean, how does somebody go about finding some of that information?
So you can definitely start dialing stuff in with, a lot of guys that even in hunting, right? We're using Google Earth and those types of things. And I've run into people on holes on rivers, and I'm like, I've been fishing this river for 32 years. I've never seen you here. Oh, I found it on Google Earth. You got to do some homework. We're not going to pull back all the layers of this onion, right? You do have to develop the skills to read water. You be able to walk into a piece of water and understand you have tidal influence here. How you can look for telltale signs. Mud, you can look at water lines. If there's no boats going by and you look across the river and there's rocks and there's like 2 feet of wet and you're there at, noon, you're like, that's interesting. And maybe there's some old pilings or there's some, there's a little bit of mud over there on a little sandbar, gravel bar. You're kind of starting to put it all together, okay? Maybe take out your Google map and look at how far am I up this tributary till it goes into the main stem. And is this tidal influenced or not? You can start figuring that stuff out. It's not something that, anybody told me. You start putting those pieces together. Use Google Maps, Google Earth. You look at different river systems. You can look at those maps and look at where that river goes and where the tributaries dump in. And just, boots on the ground or floating in your pontoon or your drift boat, figure out where your takeouts are. And when you start fishing those systems, you realize, oh yeah, this bottom end is or is not tidal influenced. And how do I use that to my advantage, right? So you start documenting, keeping track of that, make your journal. And the internet's a powerful thing. There are some sites you can go on and there's all kinds of information out there. We try not to just blurt out, river names, because let's face it, man, and Josh will tell you, these rivers are getting crowded. There are people crawling all over the place, and when the water is low and everybody's piling down at the bottom end and stuff, because guys are figuring it out, but...
Seems to be a point of contention with river fishermen, I see.
It's one of those things.
So when you figure it out, what you do is you take a picture of your fish on the river, and then you take a black Sharpie and you put it all the way around your profile. And then you post the picture, right? That's how it works.
Or you edit your picture and take out the background and those types of things.
I'm going to have to start doing that with my tuna pictures.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so people don't know where I am.
So those are a couple, those are a couple go-tos that you should follow. Additionally, I'll pop up here, show you guys a couple different apps you can use on your phone, or you can pull them up on the website. So Northwest River Forecast. What's the importance of this? 10-day meteorological forecast. This is basically telling us rain, temperatures, minimum temperatures, forecast snow levels, those types of things as we get later into the winter. This is a phenomenal site because way over here on the left-hand side, as we scroll down every day of the week, there is nothing there on the white, okay? What's that telling us? That we basically have no precipitation coming. There we start looking, little stuff moving down from the north. And as we get down here, this is a 10-day outlook. So we are clear down here into the following week. Next Thursday, next Friday, a week from tomorrow, Tommy, we start seeing some precipitation on this map, okay? So as I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at my calendar, and I'm trying to figure out when I'm going fishing, I realize that I don't really have any rain coming to these rivers, and now we get into Saturday, and I look at my graph over here. Now we're brushing just shy of about an inch of forecast along that coastal river, or that coastal area, inner coast. We drop into about an inch and a half on the tip of that coast. So that starts being some accumulation that's going to generate something. What's it going to generate? Why does that matter as I look at this stuff? Well, if I go to this site here that's also tied into the NOAA, this is actually your river forecast. You couple the river forecast with the precipitation forecast. It equates. They do a long-range look at where this is going to go. So right here, just by chance, because it's kind of my home waters, I touch on this one here, and it pulls up the SATSUP for me as an example, right? This blue spike is what we just experienced. This was last week. It got to over 5,500 feet. In a matter of a couple days, it spiked up pretty tremendously. It washed the river clean. It took a lot of debris. The water got stained and off color. So you got to wait till it starts dropping. And when we all see that water starting to drop, that's when you start drooling about the fact these fish are going to be there. Water's going to get in shape. But look how fast that water went from 5,500 down here. We're just about 400 CFS, cubic feet per second. We went from 5,500 down to 400 in a matter of about 5 or 6 days. It doesn't take long to drain out, right? So, and you can see now that is, the blue line indicates what we've already experienced. Moving forward, green is where we're at right now. The next couple of days, here's your dates at the bottom. You got October 2nd, 3rd, 4th. We maintain that. If we go back and look at that precipitation forecast, it started the 10th, 11th. That's when the rain starts to fall. We hit the 11th, 12th, where we're getting 1.5 inches of rain a day, and look at our river. It's going to start going up. Now, typically, by looking at that, I'm projecting what's going on in the future. I want to also look at what's happening in the now. So this is our USGS river forecast, or current time, and that blue line just indicates what we already know by looking at the other graph. This just confirms that we are on a steady drop. We are in and around 400 CFS, and we're going to maintain that. And if we're unsure how long that is going to maintain, we go back to the previous graph that we just talked about, and it shows, well, about the 11th or 12th, we're going to see that rain coming in, and we know that for sure because we've tied all three of these together, correct? So knowing what we know, taking that, working the tides, understanding the tides, how they influence the lower rivers, looking at when those rivers are going to go up based on the rain forecast, looking at your river graph of where they're going.
How far up the river from the salt or from the basin are they measuring this flow? Do you know?
It varies on all rivers. You'll flow down some rivers and there's a graph. The interesting thing on the one that's the USGS, it tells you where that graph is. Okay. And on some rivers there's multiples, because what happens is you'll be up high in the system and they'll have a graph, and then as you move down into the system you have another small river or creek that comes in that adds additional flow, and they'll put a measurement below that. And then down even lower you'll have another fork that kicks in that doubles the size of the river, and they'll put in a measurement below that. So you get on there and you look at which graphs are available in the region. Now, the other thing you can do, if you have rivers that you typically fish and it doesn't have a USGS graph on it, you look within your region and other rivers that surround it, okay? And the best thing you can do is simply pay attention to the river you fish without a graph and kind of track, knowing, okay, today it fished well, I like this level. What's this river over here doing that has a graph, right? Okay, this one is at this, I'm going to write that down and keep track of that. Oh, we just had a high water event. I go check out my river, yeah, this is what it looks like, and this river over here is way up here, okay, I got that. How low does this one go, and I still feel good about what I'm seeing over here? So you pick a river that's in close proximity in a basin or within that geographical location, and you just kind of make that your graph river to couple that along with the river you fish. Okay. It's going to give you something to go on better than nothing. The day of getting up and driving 2 hours in the morning to go and check and wait for daylight to see if your river is mud brown and flowing high is over, if you know how to find information on the interweb. So I know a lot of guys use these graphs to their advantage, and you should. If you're fairly new to fishing and trying to figure this stuff out, utilize your information, but as some folks are chiming in here, at the end of the day, you still got to put in the work. You got to get your waders on the ground. You got to go hike around. Josh does a great job. He hikes around all these rivers and finds pockets. You get away from people. You do things like, if you want to get high up in the river and you can't find a launch or anything, you get a pontoon or some smaller type of boat, push it over the side and float on down and go see what you find. And try to find fishing holes that are away from people. Get away. If you come around a corner, there's a bunch of cars parked there. You might as well just keep driving. Just keep going. Yep. You got to put in some work for yourself. So, any questions in regard to that one there, young Thomas? That's going to be similar to our discussion with big game hunting. Yeah? Very similar. Well, at the end of the day, people got to put in some work, right? Yeah. I mean, we enjoy bringing forth the information and sharing the how-tos and the whys and things to do, things not to do, successes and failures. Interview people like Kyle that are fishing completely different systems to kind of see if there's some crossover. It all kind of relates. Fishermen are by nature just curious creatures, and they want to know, does that work here? Is that something I can try here? Sparks an idea to maybe try something in a fishery you haven't tried in your home waters, and doing your research. Getting on here, taking the time. You're going to go into detail later on about you can't make it to the range, but there's things you should be doing.
Absolutely, right?
Very similar to...
Similar concept,
Yeah, right? Putting in the work, right? So if you guys out there have insight or sites that you rely on to do your homework or intel, don't mind sharing them with folks. Go ahead and post them up here, and we'll get that information out. A lot of guys hold it pretty close to the vest. You're not going to put a lot of info out there, but these are some pretty common sites that a lot of folks use. So I'm not like unveiling any major secret here tonight. This is pretty common knowledge.
Won't get any hate mail from this?
We might. I mean, every week we sit here subjected to hate mail, so it can happen. Oh, by the way, I got a whole in-basket full for you. Yeah,
you're sharing too much information.
Right.
Yeah, we get that.
All right. You guys got questions, comments, concerns, post them up here on our messenger or hit us up after the show later on. You can always reach us here at Fish Hunt Northwest. We are more than happy to go back and forth toe-to-toe if we have to on conversing and sharing information. So appreciate all the information. I do have a couple questions that came in earlier today or yesterday. I was busy fishing. I will get to those later tonight or tomorrow. I assure you, we try to always answer information and get it out there for you guys. So, all right, with that, we are going to jump out for a quick break, and when we come back, it is, holy cow, is it almost already 7 o'clock?
I know. You got really excited talking about the whole river game.
What happened?
You ate into my big game time there, buddy.
Well, we're gonna get your big game time in. We'll come back, and we got Tactical Talk with Tommy Donlin.
There we go.
Right here at Fish Hunt Northwest. Don't anywhere. We'll be right back.
A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride right here in Bremerton, Washington. Arima Boats offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. With literally thousands of Arima boats on the water throughout the Pacific Northwest, Arima boats are a proven hull design that offers incredible fuel economy and all of the amenities that a serious angler is looking for. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Arima boats are designed to maximize deck space while also providing ample seating. Contact us today at Arima Boats for all your boating needs and let us help you get out on the water.
You see that? Josh is yelling at us.
I know. Talk about mom
got
over
it,
there.
Mom. Thanks. All right, Welcome back, Fish Hunt Northwest. We've run a little long on a couple of our segments tonight, but that's okay.
It's good information, though. Really good information.
We're trying to help people out of here. Come on. Hey, Tactical Talk with Tommy is volume 2. Tuna Talk with Tommy is volume 1.
That's right. So that's where we're going to keep going.
Now that we're in volume 2, Tactical Talk with Tommy. All right. So we've kind of started big game hunting around the same time. That being said, you have head plunged right into this thing. I've been kind of dipping my toe a little bit, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So you've taken it on full, and you have a lot of really good things, habits, I guess, that you've developed over the time.
Yeah.
Things that you kind of, stick to a regimen, I guess, in preparation. So let's kind of walk through some of the top 5 to 7 things that you kind of, make sure you do these things, trying to ensure you do have a successful season.
So to kick us off, I mean, do you know how or why I got started in big game hunting? Do you remember the reason?
Yeah, you wanted to eat red meat.
That's right. It wasn't really me. It was more my wife.
Oh yeah, Justine wanted to
she got sick of eating fish 6 or 7 days a week. And so I said, you know what, I think we can put some red meat on the table, but I don't want to buy anything from the store that's ironically corn-fed, right? I don't want to buy anything that's pumped full of GMOs or hormones or grained up at the end of its life, right? I want something organic.
Yeah.
And so that was like the beginning of my journey, and that was 2015. I was 32.
Yeah.
Okay.
Young.
And yeah, I don't know about young, but I mean, I regret not starting earlier, but that's how that's how it all got started. Right. But what I wanted to do is just kind of for this segment is really walk through. I've got 7 items, and kind of my thought process as to how you approach a hunt. And primarily the hunts that I'm talking about here is deer or elk. Those are the 2 that I've become addicted to over the years. And so the first item is that's why I was asking Dwayne about, hey, how do you even know where to start in a river system? And you said you just got to go and do it, right? Mm-hmm. There's other data, like you presented the flow data out of each river system and kind of looking at the forecast and how to translate that into fishing in the moon phase, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with big game hunting. You're going to start with the data that if you're hunting in Washington, that WDFW produces. They tell you, hey, in this area, there was, 21 5-point bulls shot here, right? Or, hey, the overall success rate for white-tailed deer in this unit was 23%. And so what I do is I'll go onto their website and I pull all that data, all those statistics for both elk and deer, and I dump it into an Excel spreadsheet. And then I put some filters into the spreadsheet and I start sorting by, okay, if I wanted to do, if I wanted just any elk opportunity, what's the number 1 unit in the state? If I just wanted to shoot a cow, if I wanted to get some meat on the table, where do I go? Okay, it's this unit right here. Right. Now, there's a caveat to that in that you got to really look at the unit, because if it's a small unit and there's a lot of private land, you got to be able to get access to that private land, right? Right. So there's some other filtering you have to do, which kind of takes me into that next point, bullet point number 2, which is really e-scouting, right? I'm a huge fan of Onyx. I've been using Onyx, for just about as long as I've been hunting. Yeah. And basically it's an online mapping system, tells you where all the public boundaries are, the private boundaries, whether it's Bureau of Land Management property, timber property, has a lot of good data. It shows you the topographical maps, shows you kind of the aerial view. So if there's been clear cuts, where those clear cuts are, if there's been fires, just a lot of massive data.
Shows you the name of the private landowner whose door you're going to knock on and ask Mr. Johnson if I can have permission to hunt his 100,000 acres.
Yep, you got it. You got it. And so, really, for a lot of us that, we don't live on the coast, we don't live on the east side, we're in suburbia or we're in that I-5 corridor, between Tacoma and Everett. It's not convenient for us to just get in a vehicle and go drive to where we want to hunt and then spec it out, right? So you really have to start with e-scouting, which is sitting in front of your computer and poring over the maps, right? And looking for really 2 primary things, food and shelter. Right. Okay. Now, if you were, if you're in a bow hunting, then you're going to bring into the water into account, right? But for the modern rifle hunt, I'm really not looking at water sources. I'm looking for, where are these animals going to bed? Where do they feel safe? Where's their safe zone? And then where is their food source? So that's the second point. The third point is it all comes down to pulling the trigger. Okay. You know that if you want to harvest an animal, you're going to have to shoot your rifle, right? Yeah. So that you know that unequivocally, out of all the things that you need to do to prepare, you have to be good at shooting your rifle. Okay. So guess what bullet point number 3 is? You better get out there and shoot your rifle.
Shoot your rifle.
And I got to be honest with you, when I first started hunting, I was not into reloading. And I'm not saying you have to be into reloading. But I was one of those guys that I went to the range twice before hunting season and I got on paper and I'm like, oh yeah, looks good. I'm hitting the target 100 yards off a bench and good to go. I shot 5 rounds here and then the next week in another 5 rounds and I'm good. Let me tell you what, if you shoot only 10 rounds before hunting season, you're not going to be prepared. Right. Okay. The likelihood of somebody setting up a bench for you out in the woods that you can shoot off of at an animal is highly unlikely. Probably not going to happen. Okay. So we do a lot of positional shooting to prepare. We do a lot of reaction shooting. So we'll get our ARs out. We'll put out steel targets from anywhere to 50 to 150 yards. And we'll have like a buddy will count out the targets and he'll say hit 1, hit 7, hit 5, right? And we'll hit this target, we'll hit that target, we'll hit this target, right? And what you're doing is you're getting into that mode where you're pulling the rifle up into your view, you're seeing the target, you're pulling the trigger, and it's just that trigger time. Now, again, a lot of people don't have time to do that either, and this is where those other things that we were talking about in terms of, hey, what can you do if you're just sitting at home?
Yeah.
There's a couple things, right? If you're in, you can do this in your living room. Make sure your firearm's unloaded. Just pull the bolt out. You don't need the bolt for this, right? But it's pulling that rifle up. You can pick a point in your living room. Hey, maybe I'm going to look at that beautiful Euro mount above Dwayne's head, and I'm going to pull up and I'm going to look at his eye socket through the scope. Okay, and I'm going to do that over and over, and I'm going to pick different points, and I'm going to bring that rifle up. Yeah. Okay, and that gets that muscle memory into what you really need to do to be successful. The other thing is, you'd be surprised. Pretty much everybody flinches the first time they start really shooting a rifle. Okay, especially a rifle that doesn't have a break on it, especially if you're shooting magnums. Okay, and the only way to get rid of that is to practice pulling the trigger. Running the bolt, pulling the trigger, and just get used to that click, that trigger pressure. Now I'm going to tell you, one of the other things that I highly recommend is that if you buy a rifle and you've got a 6-pound trigger pull, or you've got a mil spec 7-pound trigger pull, you want to adjust that trigger pull and back that off. You don't want to back it off to the point where you're like one of these competition extra long range shooters and you've got a 1.5-pound trigger pull. For safety reasons, I would not recommend that. My sweet spot is right there in that 3 to 3.5 pound range, right? You're not trying to do a finger workout pulling the trigger, because as soon as you start pulling your finger left or right on that trigger, and it's easy to do, that you're going to start pulling rounds left or right. Yeah. Okay. So you really got to have good, positional finger placement on that trigger. One of the other things that has been ingrained to me, this is kind of bullet number 4, is you have to expect the unexpected. Okay. Ty Christie gets credit for this one. Ty, if you're watching, this is yours. Expect the unexpected. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of hunters. They got this plan in their head, right? They're going to go to this spot. They're going to hike 5 miles. They're going to sit on this bench, and they're going to watch this ravine. And they get out of the truck, they walk 20 yards, and a 4x4 walks out right in front of them. And they're not even ready, because they're not thinking, in the mindset is not, I could see an animal at any time. Sure. Right? You always have to be in that mindset of one could pop out that you want to shoot at any point in time, and you have to be ready. That's a good point. I mean, you drive into your spot, you get out, go past the gate or whatever it is, and you are anticipating a 2-mile, hike in. Yep. Because that's what you always do, and that's kind of your spot where you start hunting. Whereas you probably should be in the mindset your hunt starts when you get out of your truck. Right. Right. Yep. And you're right. A lot of guys aren't ready for that. Yeah. I mean, they're set in their way. They've been successful doing their thing. They're doing their program time and time again. So I think I was telling you before the show, a good friend of mine, a couple years ago, drew one of the Eastern quality bull tags, right? And it was the year where we had really warm temperatures. The bulls were not in the typical area that they typically reside in. They were much higher elevation, and he was putting in a grind, looking for bulls, and he was coming back to his truck, right? And he's thinking, okay, the hunt's over for the day, winding down. I got to get in my truck. I got to drive to another spot or try to locate where they're at, where they're bachelored up. And he gets back to his truck, and there's a 6x6 standing right next to his truck, right? But he wasn't in the mindset of, hey, I always need to be ready, because the next little bump or hill or step that I take could put me into the view of an animal that I want to harvest, right? And the bull looked at him. He looked at the bull, and the bull said, see ya. Yeah. Right? And he was out. So one of the other things that I'm a big fan of, I hate road hunting, can't stand it, drives me nuts. If you really want to be successful, you got to get off the road, right? You got to get out of sight of other people. These animals aren't stupid. They know that, hey, if they stand next to the road during hunting season, especially modern rifle, after the archers and the muzzle loaders have had a chance to go after those animals, they know they're going to get shot.
Sure.
Right. And in a lot of areas, if you have a high road density, they're not even going to be in a clear cut come, first light.
Because
right?
they're in between a couple roads, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They're going to be in the timber, right? They're probably going to be just inside the timber until that sun falls and daylight's gone, and then they're going to come out in that clear cut and feed. Yep. So I really try to get away from, any kind of road system, try to get off the map and work areas that are just not easily accessible. Yeah. Right. And is a lot more work. You bet it's a lot more work, absolutely. But it's totally worth it.
That's why a lot of people don't do it.
Exactly. So that brings me to, another point, and this was applicable in 2016. We were hunting in Butte, Montana, and it was one of those things where I was new to the journey, and I knew that I had a high probability area here based on previous data, and I'm like, I want to hunt Montana. You think Montana and you think, wide open spaces. Trust me, it's wide open, and the peaks are tall, and there's a lot of hiking involved. But we went there, and all the usual places where elk should be, they weren't. It was really warm. So we got up high, and we started glassing, and we found them up against the Continental Divide. And, they were up around, we were seeing them at around 8,000, 8,500 feet, which is up there. But you have to have good glass. As you know, I'm a huge fan of Vortex, so I've got a lot of their equipment that I use.
I am now too.
Yeah,
apparently.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are with that HST.
Very happy. Yes.
And so you really got to spend time glassing. You got to get to a point where you can see a lot of land, and you got to get good enough to where, in loose timber, you can kind of spot animals through timber. I think that's what divides just kind of your average glasser from somebody that's absolutely superior. And again, it's one of those things where there's no replacement for time on glass, right? Time looking down the tube. And the last bullet point that I really want to make is, we want to talk about the definition of insanity. Okay. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting a different result. So when you go into a hunt, you really should have like a plan A, a B, a C, and I mean, as many options as you can possibly think of in your head, whether that's 5 to 10, there's no magic number. You could go to Z. But you can't just keep doing the same thing and expecting all of a sudden that buck of a lifetime, or just a harvestable buck for that matter, to just appear in an area that you have been spending a lot of time in. So you really want to go into a hunt thinking, okay, I'm going to do this. If that doesn't work, I'm going to go to plan B. Okay. If plan B happens, if it gets super warm and it's going to be hot at the lower elevation, I'm going to go here. Yep. I'm going to raise my elevation. If I start to get snow and all their food sources get covered up and they can't get to it, I'm going to move down, right? So you have to have that, scenario mindset of, if this happens, I'm going to do this. This is my first plan. This is my second plan. So those are the 7 points that I would highly recommend for people going into the big game season.
That last one there, so going out of state, doing a hunt, new area you've never been to, know nothing about other than where you're going to land, and, that's where you really got to, key in on your topography maps.
Yes.
Hopefully you got current data that shows you as new as you can get. Is that still a clear cut? Is that, a prod? What's the status on that? And what's the elevation? And how steep is that terrain based on my topography maps? And so if I run into that dry, hot, going to push them up higher, looking for cooler temps or whatever, how do I get there? And what you denote on your computer at home and spend months planning and forging ahead on and putting your plan together, you get there and it's nothing you expect.
Yeah, especially if there's an active logging operation going on.
So, be ready for the unexpected, have a backup plan, have maybe 2 different areas that you would, consider, or 3 that you would consider going to get to that higher ground or that lower ground or whatever, right? So, but once you get through that first year, next year we come back here, I tell you what, right?
Right, a little bit more information.
You put eyes and boots on it, big difference. So bottom line is you got some homework to do. There's things to do preparation-wise. It doesn't necessarily mean you are completely, traipsing through the woods and at the range. There's other things you can do in preparation, which I think are valid points. You brought up some good points there. So, all right, mister. Well, you are trekking out of here and got some hunts to go get under your belt. So looking forward to that. I'm going to be flying solo here for a show or whatever. But
you got this.
I think I can do it.
I think you can do it.
I've done it.
With Josh's cynical comments, I think you can do it.
Yeah. That we'll have that fish finder site up for him by next week.
There we go. Yep.
So got that working for him and to his advantage. All right, good stuff, buddy. We're going to jump out for a quick break. A lot of you guys have been sending me messages with a lot of curing questions this time of year, because fishing bait under a float is just such a great way to go after fish, Tommy, in the rivers. It's just so much fun to do. And we talk almost ad nauseum at some point, but the people seem to dig it, so we keep going there. Different methods to put that bait under your float and how to approach different techniques and reading water, all that stuff. Well, and you'll hear me say from time to time, but at the end of the day, it starts with good bait. So how do you get good bait? First of all, we start with Pautzke products, which you all know I've been with Pautzke's for a long time and believe in their products exclusively. And so when we talk about and show you here in the Bait Lab, it's probably what we're going to use. And we are going to do just that. We're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We are going to cure up those coho eggs that we landed on today and give you some things to think about in your next round of bait curing. So don't go anywhere. Stick with us through the break. We'll be right back here on Fish Up Northwest.
Allied boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Deep V 21-degree dead rise at the transom guarantees a smooth ride no matter the conditions. Allied offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Allied boats range from 19 to 32 foot in length, so no matter what type of heavy gauge boat you are looking for, we have it for you. All of our Corsair 21-foot and larger designs come standard with reverse chine that is welded inside and out with no extrusions below the waterline, so that you will never have to worry about corrosion problems down the road. Get out on the water today in a boat that you can trust and enjoy with Allied Boats. Contact us at Allied Boats today to learn much more about our incredible fishing machines.
What if there was a smarter way to search for your new home? Introducing the Better Homes and Gardens real estate website and mobile app. This revolutionary new search tool puts your needs first. Narrow your search to what matters most to your family, like school data, school districts, and even walk scores. Get easy access to your local affiliated agent, as well as unique and local insights about neighborhoods and properties directly within the app. With synced and saved preferences, you'll always pick up wherever you left off. Get your smarter search started today with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate.
Hey, welcome back, Fish on Northwest. We are here in the Bait Lab for another fantastic how-to. How-tos in the Bait Lab brought to you by Max Lure. Tonight we are curing some freshly caught coho eggs from this morning. And, these are really good eggs in a sense based on the size and the fact of the maturity of this particular fish. The eggs still have a lot of skin around them on the skein, okay? So there's a lot of skin that surrounds the skein. They're open up on the bottom, which they always are, but a lot of the skin or the membrane hasn't begun to break away off of the egg, so they're held together pretty good. So that for me is first step. I look at the eggs and decide how intact or not they are. If they're really loose and coming apart, it's going to direct me in my decision-making process on what type of cure I'm going to use. I'll get into that in just a second. I want to remind you, when you catch a fish, it's imperative that you bleed your fish, okay? Don't beat its skull in with a bat to the point that it's just absolutely not moving. The best way to get the most volume of blood out of your fish is to allow the heart to pump as much blood out of that fish as you can. Fish that I catch in the river, I seldom ever hit. I simply reach in, rip their gill, or cut it with scissors or a knife, and I allow that, I'll just hold on to their tail and just let them bleed out right there in the river. If you're in a boat, you got a bucket or something you can put them in, or hang them over the side. Either or, the key there is for quality of meat and quality, especially on your hens for your eggs, to get all the blood out. You get that gill bleed going and let that heart evacuate as much blood out of the body as you can, and it's going to go a long ways. These eggs, when I got done today, you can look from overhead here, they are extremely clean. There is hardly any blood left in these eggs. There's a little bit in this shorter skein, and I'm going to show you just with the straight edge of this knife, or I can use scissors to do the same thing, in how we get the blood out of the eggs and how we get these into sizable sections and butterflied so we can put the cure on. For me, I'm just going to use this knife, and I'm going to take all these little feeder veins, and I'm going to push that blood into that main vein running along the base of these eggs here, okay? And then I'm simply down at the base here. I'm going to put a little cut in that vein. I'm going to use my paper towel on this end. And one thing I can tell you is the fresher the eggs are, the easier that blood travels through that vein. See how I can just push it down to the bottom end here? And then ultimately I just wick it out of there with this paper towel. It just pulls the blood right out of the vein, and it takes the blood out of the eggs. Now, if the eggs are a couple days old, you're going to find that blood gets a little bit coagulated inside the vein, and it doesn't travel as good, but you can still force it along the vein and get it out. So don't give up on it because you think it's too complicated. The more blood you get out of the eggs, the better they cure, the better they preserve. Blood likes to spoil and begins to take on a smell of its own, so you want to try to get as much blood out of there as you can. Now that I have these skeins pretty much blood free, they're nice and clean, I got to think about what size of baits I'm going to cure. For me, I like to do skein size that fit in my bait box, because I will wear a bait box with cured eggs on a skein, and I use scissors to cut the bait to the size I want to fish when I'm at the river. If I know I'm predominantly going after coho, I'll cut my bait pieces a little smaller. If I know I'm fishing for Chinook, I'll make them a little bit larger, and/or for chum. So I let the river and the conditions dictate the size of bait I want to cut and/or fish, so I don't pre-cut all my bait sizes. What I simply do is I'll take this longer skein here, and I'm going to cut it in half, really sharp knife so it doesn't smash the eggs and it goes right through. Now, because I have to get the cure down inside of this skein, I like to take and simply butterfly them. I'll lay it here like this so you can see it. We're just going to cut right down along that skein. Just really easy, hardly any pressure on the eggs at all, and it just butterflies that skein right open. I can do the same right along here, just kind of opening that skein up so I can get more cure in there. This one here, the length of that isn't too terribly bad, so we can just cut down along here and get that skein opened up, okay? Now I'm not cutting all the way through the skin. I just want it butterflied so it stays intact, it holds together really well, okay? So now these skeins are butterflied open. You can see it lays flat. I can get a lot of cure in and around all them eggs. The skin's intact on the back side. As these cure up and that skin toughens up, it's going to hold the eggs together real nicely, and they're not going to fly apart so easily when I put them on put them in my egg loop and cast them. So let's talk a little bit about, cure options, all right? In front of me, I have here two different options, both basically the same color, provided by Pautzke's bait. Now, the Baraxophyre is ideally engineered for steelhead fishing and curing up eggs for steelhead. It doesn't have any sulfites. It's a salt and sugar mixture that steelhead tend to be drawn towards. This here fire cure is more of a sulfite-based, or is a sulfite-based cure. Now, one thing we know about salmon, The further upriver they go, the more they crave salts and sulfites. The lower in the system they are, they tend to have a sweet tooth. So I like to mix batches and interchange things to make my cures on the lower end. Earlier I was talking about that estuary water and that tidal influence. The baits I fish in that lower water will have a lot more sugar base to them than sulfites. When I get further up in the river, I tend to use bait cures with more sulfite. That being said, sulfite-based cures do not toughen up your skein as much as non-sulfite-based cures. So it's finding a balance. And for me, these coho eggs they have enough skin around them and they're durable enough. I can use a sulfite-based cure and they're going to cure them up real nice and the eggs are still going to be tough. If this was from a large Chinook, big mature Chinook skeins with a lot of skin that's getting loose, I like to take my Baraxophyre and I dump it into a container, and I've put the recipe out there before, and if you guys ask for it, I'll put it out there again, just messages up here. But I will take a full container of Baraxophyre and I dump it into a container. I add into it a half cup of white processed sugar. I'll dump into it 2 heaping tablespoons of the krill powder to add more krill scent to it. And I will add into there, and you can find it at most of your stores that sell any type of bait products, I will put in 1 or 2 heaping tablespoons of sodium sulfite. So I'm adding my own sodium sulfite base to a cure that for me toughens up looser skinned eggs than a tremendously strong sulfite-based cure. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. It's mixing and matching and creating something that has more sugar, but yet a little more sulfite for bite stimulant. But it also, because of the basis of this Baraxophyre, it toughens the eggs up real nice. So just something to go with. Now to start off with here, I'm going to go with this sulfite-based cure, and we're going to put that Baraxophyre, or excuse me, the fire cure on here, and make sure you remove the little gasket seal that's in there. It doesn't take a lot of cure. Now, one thing I do is I buy these puppy pads. If you're going to be curing a lot of eggs, puppy pads are fantastic because you can cover your whole workstation here and all the extra juices and things if you're processing a lot of eggs. Puppy pads work great to keep everything clean. Then I set them on paper towels, and I'll show you why in a second, because once I get the cure on here, I don't really want to pick them up if I don't need to and get that cure all over my hands because it just makes an absolute mess. So we're just going to add some of this fire cure onto these eggs, a pretty decent amount, but not going crazy with it, okay? So just shake it out of the old container here, and you can watch as it starts turning color. And I don't get all caught up putting it on both sides. I mostly just will put it on the one side because the work all happens once we get it inside the bag. You can use containers, you can use bowls, you can use bags, whatever. So a light dusting, pretty much covering most of the egg pretty good. Again, not going crazy with it because it is a sulfite-based cure. Now, a few weeks ago I showed you guys how to make dry scented powders out of different fleshy fish options, mackerel, sardine, tuna belly, which takes forever but well worth it. Herring, anchovy, you got your choice. I'm going to go ahead and mix these up with my tuna belly. It has an amazing amount of scent, and I know that these different natural oils now that I'm putting onto these eggs via a homemade powder do wonders for bite stimulants. So there you go. Just simply put your cure on, put your home brew of your powder of choice onto your eggs, and now you've just created something that even if the fisherman or lady downriver or upriver from you is fishing fire cure eggs, they're doing good, but they're not doing as good as you because you have a completely different scent you're putting into the water. I take my Ziploc bag, I mark on here coho, I mark on here TB for tuna belly. I have fire cure. I'm also going to add a little bit of nectar in here to add some extra egg juice. So now it's just simply I open up my bag, okay, and now I'm going to pick up my paper towels. Remember I said if I don't need to get my hands all over the eggs, I don't. And I slide them in the bag like this and just dump them right on in there, okay? And then there you go. The mess is all in the paper towel, no big deal. Now I can look at that and think, well, do I have enough cure on there? I can add more cure right now, which would be fine, or I can also wait and see what these eggs are going to do. Remember, excuse me, we're using a sulfite-based cure, so I don't want to put too much cure on there. And what happens is these eggs will begin to juice out. In other words, every single egg on this skein is filled with a liquid, okay? There's a real small hole that you cannot see, obviously, in each egg. The cure is designed to draw the liquid out of the egg. So after a few hours, these eggs will be bathing in basically red juice in here, okay? Now the process of curing is to extract the water or the liquid out of the eggs, and then over time, at room temperature, the eggs will draw that liquid back into them, and then the egg seals up. That individual hole seals up, and the egg is volumized with fluid, has color, has all the scent trapped inside, and the skein has become tougher, and that's basically your cured bait. So from here, this process takes a few hours. I like to take the first couple hours, and about every 20 minutes or so, you know, sip your beer, sip your coffee, whatever. You're out here in your garage, you're in your bait room. You're just going to gently tumble these around and mix that cure up and get those eggs juicing out. All that liquid you see on the bag now is the juice coming out of the eggs. Now I'm going to let that sit. 20, 30 minutes go by as it builds juice in here. I'm going to come out here again. I'm going to roll this around gently. It's not a shake and bake kind of a move. It's just a gentle tumble, and they begin to juice out. Now, one thing I can do to help expedite the process, and actually it aids in the volumization of these eggs as they reabsorb, I like to, more times than not, I'll take a little bit of this Pautzke's nectar, which is 100% egg juice from when they cook down all the salmon eggs to make your trout eggs. And I'm just going to pour a little bit of nectar in here as a little extra juice. It hurts nothing. It actually adds to the ability of these eggs to juice out and reabsorb. And it helps disperse that powder cure equally amongst the entire amount of eggs that's here in the bag, okay? But again, the process is the same. We're just going to roll this around and get that cure going so that it begins to cure those eggs equally. Now, after a few hours, and again, I advocate room temperature, especially this time of year out in your garages and stuff, it's probably 60-something degrees, which is ideal. After these eggs have juiced out and they're sitting there bathing in juice for a couple hours, I'm going to simply pop the seal. I'm going to roll the majority of the air out of the bag, and I'm going to let that bag sit in my garage for the next at least 12 hours or so, just letting those eggs sit in all that juice and reabsorb as much juice as they're going to reabsorb, okay? Then after at least 12, if not 24 hours, you can put those in the fridge, or you can put them in the freezer if you're not going to use them. You don't need to strain the juice off. You don't need to do anything. When you strain the juice off is right before you're going to fish them if you feel like you need to get rid of some of the excess juice. If you put these eggs in the refrigerator too soon, like right after you put the cure on them, they're only going to partially cure, because as you cool these eggs down, they tighten up, the hole shrinks up, they don't reabsorb all that juice back into the eggs, be volumized as much as they can. When you put them in the water, they don't have that nice milk cloud coming off of them because you prematurely put them in the fridge. Leave them out at room temperature for at least a 12 to 24 hour period. Let them reabsorb, cure, soak in, let it do its thing, and you're going to be much happier with the results. That's the starting on curing eggs. Again, we cure because of the tight skein. We've added a little extra scent. These have a good 12-hour, cook time, so to speak, at room temperature. Then I would refrigerate them, and/or they're ready to fish or freeze. Perhaps next week we'll go into phase 2 to show you what that process looks like and what these look like when they're all cured. All right, you got any questions relative to egg cure, bait cure, anything to do with Pautzke products? Hit us up here at Fish Hunt Northwest. And with that, we'll jump out for a quick commercial break. We'll be back right here after this.
Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers, or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
All right, well, there you have it, Tommy. We covered a lot of ground. It does seem like that much time went by already, but here we are.
Yeah, you know, I've actually brined eggs before.
You've what?
I've actually, cured eggs.
Oh, I thought you said brined, as in then you smoked them or ate them or something.
No, I've actually ate them too, though.
I believe that, so have I. Yeah.
Never used them. They went into the freezer. And then
Crab bait.
I went halibut fishing.
Yeah.
I went halibut fishing. I used them for halibut.
Perfect.
Caught fish on them.
Yep.
Threw the fish back in the water.
Yep.
Todd Gertz was right behind me doing a drift.
Uh-huh.
And he picked up the same fish that I had just caught, and it puked up eggs. And then he calls me on the radio and goes, "Hey, are you feeding these halibut eggs?"
You're like, yeah, I didn't have anything else to do with them. I cured them, and I knew they sucked. So, they caught fish in the ocean.
I followed the directions.
Yeah. Tommy Donlin, I cure eggs to fish the ocean. That's classic. All right, well, I will see you in a short time down the road.
Yes, indeed.
You got some hunting to do. I got some fishing to do. Looking forward to that. October 17th, local deer opportunity for me. I'm going to get that rifle dialed in here in the next few days. We'll be in touch, and I know you're going to get out there and create a lot of great content for Fish on Northwest, so I can't wait to see what you bring back with you. It's going to be good stuff.
I hope you're right. Knock on wood.
I hope you're right.
Count my chickens before they hatch.
Well, I know. But look, you put in a lot of effort, and something tells me you're going to find yourself some success, so I can't wait. So. Anyway, all right, that's going to do it for us this week here at Fish on Northwest. Appreciate y'all tuning in and checking it out. Please take time to share our content, push it around out there. Jump on our YouTube channel, subscribe. We're going to start building that thing like crazy. The next several months, it's going to blow up. Website's going to be up and going. I know I've mentioned it a few times. Website is coming, going to bring on our full-on store, more recipes and blogs and all types of stuff. The bait curing you just saw a little bit ago, tons of recipe blogs and how-tos and all that stuff is going to be posted up on our webpage, as well as a lot of the how-to stuff you can find on our YouTube channel. So we just continue to build content so you folks can take advantage of it, and we appreciate you tuning in each and every week. Again, if you have successes or failures, want to post up your pictures of successes, especially with kids and stuff, we love that stuff. On our Facebook page, we can help share that information out there for folks to enjoy, and we appreciate your insight. Let us know. You pleased with what you see here? Great. If you got some issues with me or Tommy, especially Tommy, let us know. Ladies, if you're looking for a man to take you fishing, Josh is available. All right, that's so we get that out there for all you lovely fishing ladies.
Fundraiser.
Yes. Look them up on fishfinder.com. All right, with that, we're going to jump out of here, and we'll be back next week with another fantastic show, 6 p.m. right here, Thursday evening, on Facebook and, of course, our YouTube channel. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you soon.